All right, now I'm ready.
Now call to order the public hearing of April 10th, 2023. The time is 6:45 p.m. Still 6:45. Ben, would you call the roll?
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member McLeister?
Here.
Member Waring?
Here.
Member Schroy?
Here.
Member Orr?
Here.
Member Volt is absent, 6 present.
Motion to excuse Councilman Revolt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we begin the public comment for public hearings on this agenda. For the first topic, Ben, would you read the title for the record?
Ordinance 16-2023, an ordinance amending Chapter 1159, non-conforming uses, buildings, lots, and structures, specifically subsection 1159.03E, discontinuance of use of the codified ordinance of the City of North Canton, to lower the period during which a non-conforming use is continued while inactive from 2 years to 12 months.
Jamie.
All right. Basically what this is doing is this is taking the, if you have a non-conforming use that has been grandfathered in, typically in the past it has been allowed to exist for 2 years with unuse of the property. So if you move in within 2 years, you could continue that use. So we're looking to change that from the 2 years down to 12 months. So I pretty much encapsulate everything down there. Anything else to add? Okay. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance 16-2023, please approach the podium. Let's go. Okay, and anyone wishing to speak in opposition of ordinance 16-2023, please approach the podium. Okay. Final opportunity. Okay, this will appear in the City Council agenda. Moving on to the next topic, Ben, would you please read the title for the record?
Ordinance number 21-2023, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of North Canton to reclassify 33 parcels in the City of North Canton in accordance with the amendment procedure set forth in Chapter 1182 of the Planning and Zoning Code in order to phase out office building zoning throughout the city.
All right. I don't know that needs much more explanation than what you just said. We're looking to phase out the office building zoning and basically move things to uses that might be more appropriate for the areas where they are in the city. So that's pretty much it, unless is there anything else to add, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I speak to that?
Yep, one minute. Let me get through this part. Yes. At this time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of ordinance 21-2023?
Okay, my name is Dennis Denardo.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That
Can you get up to the podium?
Yes,
Are you able to stand
Sure.
up
Thank you, sir.
and then state your name?
But
Speak loud enough. Thank you.
like I said, my name is Dennis Denardo. I live in Washington Square South, 2005 Windstone Circle Northeast, North Canton, Ohio. And I've been there for a few years. But I got some information about the zoning changes. And one of the things that concerns me is what I want to ask questions about. There's a letter, it says change zoning from office building to various, not variant, but various, V-A-R-I-O-U-S, with no definition given to what various means. Various means to me, a lot open-ended. And I just wondered, is there a clarification to that zoning? When you're saying you're changing these existing zoning things to cover these other properties, I don't know what they were before. I did have a list of all, there's quite a few of them. So you're trying to change and clarify what the zoning should be, and that's great. But what is it? And what's it going to be? If it says, just simply says, we're changing that to various, I don't agree with that, because that's open-ended. It doesn't provide clarification, it doesn't provide definition. That's my comment.
Can you spell your last name for me?
D-I, capital N, A-R-D-A. Did I speak loud enough, please? It's a pleasure living in North Canton. I'll be honest with you. I live here, and I just think about the area, and I'm concerned about it because I think it's government. I want the government to represent the people.
Thank you.
And that comment goes for, I think you changed there was a nursing home up there and another office, but those were just changed the office space. I didn't have any comments. There's just various things I have to comment to,
Thank you.
and I'd like a clarification to that.
You'd like me to answer the question?
Yeah.
So the variation letter first effect that all of the properties being considered in this zone change are going from office building, but they're not all going to the same classification. So it's various in the sense that different groups of properties are becoming different types of.
But I can't speak to that. What I'm saying is you put a phrase in it that says, okay, here's 25 properties. We're changing that to various. That's nice. But to the person that's reading it, says changing this one to what? Is this going to be multiple residential, 2-family, 1-family? Is this going to be a business? It just says various. And I don't think there's a definition of what various is and how that applies to each one of these properties.
Yes, they're not. So the new zoning classification isn't very. The letter should have also had instructions on how to go online and look at the whole text of the
I did
ordinance.
look at all the text, but what I'm saying, what's confusing.
Point of order. I don't think
This is
we're
change-
permitted to have
change-
back and forth, are we?
The public.
Okay, okay.
It says change
Thank you.
zoning from OB, office business.
Yeah.
To various. Okay, now if it was just saying, well, we're changing it to various zoning things, it's different, but you said to various.
So you would have liked it to list, we're changing it to X or Y,
I want a
and
definition.
which one
Yeah,
those are,
Yeah,
without having to go to the website and look it up.
well. I think I did go to the website, and I listed all the properties that you're changing it to, but I'm looking at the definition of what they're changing to, and maybe it's.
Yeah, it should have had this attachment, and I'm happy to go through it. So, what I'm talking about is the fact that like different properties are getting different zoning class. So that's why it said various.
Yeah. And to my, to hear me speak, I just get concerned when someone says, we're changing it to various. It seems like we're allowing anything to go there, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not, but just clarify.
That's how it
Mhm.
read. I could see that.
I get that.
Yeah, to me, it almost read as if as various was a type of classification.
That's what it reads. to me,
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I thought you were using the word variance
That's what I
on
thought.
something. So he should be able to look up, a specific, let's say there's a doctor's office in one of those zones. And what would be the process on reclassifying an OB building to various? Like,
Well, it won't be
It won't be.
reclassified to various. So each piece of
Right.
property is getting a specific new zoning that is
and
not.
those
Right.
could be followed slowly, right?
Yeah, so ordinance spells them out. Each exhibit is
Yeah.
its own.
Yes.
And they are right now in concert with the business or whatever's in that particular property now.
The proposals are all intended to keep what is there now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's not something new that you're trying to classify.
Correct.
Okay, anyone else wanting to speak in opposition?
Chuck Alcorn, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. I have no viewpoint either for or against. As Mr. McLeish has started to point out, you're violating your council rules. Now you throw out a caveat that, oh, this is a public hearing and not a council meeting. I thought these were etched in stone, and I am repeatedly dismissed, thrown out of the meetings, violating rules.
Chuck, again, you're violating, this is a public hearing based on these two matters.
Mr. Storia, you make it up as you go.
Where's Officer Canton? Could you please escort Mr. Ogmore?
You were kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. Why is it always a surprise that when you don't follow the rules over and
I'm
over?
following the rules. This is an open
You're
night
still
meeting.
not. You're still not.
That wasn't the time period.
Brad, you know the rule.
Yeah, I got it.
It's unbelievable. Did not violate any rules. You guys,
Rules right now.
your own rules.
Like literally. Okay. Final opportunity. Anyone wishing to address council on this matter?
Did we offer it to in favor of? Did we offer it to in favor of? Yes, okay.
Okay.
Okay, this will also appear on the council agenda, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In favor?
Aye.
Second,
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, motion. We will. I'll call to order the city council meeting of April 10th, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. Ben, would you please call the roll? Oh, sorry, we open in prayer. Do we have anybody, or is it Jane?
Are you talking to it? No.
Reverend, please.
All right. Let us pray. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of community. We ask your blessings on the people here in this room and those in our community not here tonight. Bless us as we do the work of our neighbors and guide us always. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States. One nation under God, indivisible.
Ben, would you please call roll?
Member Orr?
Here.
Member Short?
Here.
Member Ware? Member McLeod?
Here.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Medina? Member Revolt is absent, 6 present.
Motion to excuse member Revolt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, can I have a motion and a second to approve as presented minutes from March 27, 2023, and the first quarter 2023 financial?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, recognition of the time over the public. This is open topic tonight. At this time, any members of the public wanting to address council may do so. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes. Comments are not limited to any items on the agenda. The rules for speaking will appear on both TV screens. This will serve as the only warning for anyone in attendance tonight. Any violation of the rules will result in ejection from the premises. Anyone wishing to address council tonight, please approach the podium.
My name's Dan Sutter. I live at 7717 Angel Drive, Northwest, North Canton. Mayor, Council President, council members, and staff, good evening. My name is Dan Sutter. I am a City Board President for the Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities, known as Stark TD. I'm in my volunteer position, and I've been on the board for 10 years, sat on the Finance Committee for all 10 years. I'm honored to be able to speak to you tonight, this evening, my home community of North Canton. Stark TD supports over 4,100 people in the county and nearly 300 people who live right here in North Canton. And the number is even higher when you include our DD students attending our North Canton City schools. There are 21 independent providers employed in North Canton, and North Canton is home to 8 private provider businesses. Our mission is to support choices and create opportunities for people with disabilities and their families. Our vision is that each person will be accepted and fully included within our community. However, to achieve this, there are still attitudinal barriers that people with disabilities sometimes still face because of the way they look, walk, talk, and learn. We look to address these challenges and perceptions. Here are some more numbers. At Stark TV, each year, we work with over 700 families that have an infant with a disability or delay. Each year, we provide preschool and school-age educational services to 170 students with complex needs. Each year, we fund the services and supports that over 1,800 people, mostly adults, can live, work, and play in Stark County community. Once we provide funding for a person with a disability, this money stays with them for the rest of their lives. We make a commitment to support them sometimes for 50, 60, or even 70 years. We want you to know us and what we do. We also want you to know we are a trusted partner that thousands of Stark County families rely on. And Stark County provides vital services and high-quality support to a steadily increasing number of people with developmental disabilities throughout their lifetime. We are serving 756, or 30% more people than we were a decade ago, and all with the same annual funding. This is something we're very proud of. On May 2nd, we have a levy on the ballot that's needed for us to continue our work. It is issue 21, a 5-year renewal that is not a new tax. For the Stark County auditor, a homeowner of a $100,000 home will pay $68 per year if this renewal is approved.
Ultimately, we want each person with a disability to have a safe, good life. And we're working with North Canton and other communities in Stark County to bring this to fruition. So the people of North Canton, please support us by voting for issue 21. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, but if I might, Mr. President.
Sure.
I would, while I had the opportunity, Mr. Sutter was here, if he would, is the person who's in charge of sign locations. There's a issue 21 sign location 4x4 that is at the intersection of Charlotte and Main. That is in a construction zone. We're going to start widening the road on Main Street in Charlotte, and that'll end up being run over with a bulldozer in the next day or two if you're not able to get it.
We'll get to it.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
a lot of signs on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Jenna, good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you.
Hey, anyone else wishing to address public? Last call. All right, moving on. Old business. Ben, would you please read the title of Resolution 27-2023?
A resolution in support of the 2023 North Canton Community Survey to be conducted by the Office of City Council for the purpose of gaining input from the residents, businesses, and visitors of the city of North Canton on the conduct of North Canton city government and the issues facing the same.
That's the rules, John.
Well, this is the third reading. We've had some changes, like word changes and stuff. Is there any other questions or anything for this? Being a third reading, I propose we pass this.
Okay.
Let's have a motion.
Move to adopt.
Yeah.
Make a motion to do
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, Ben, would you read the title of ordinance 31-2023?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to enter into an amended and restated sidewalk performance bond between the city and McKinley Applegrove Limited for the Sanctuary Phase 3 development as shown on the plat recorded in instrument number 201-607-2100-28127 of the Stark County record.
This is my committee. This is for the sanctuary performance bond, and this is phase 3. There's nothing new on this. It's very standard. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
I'm going to make a motion to adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 16-2020?
An ordinance amending chapter 1159 non-conforming uses, buildings, lots, and structures, specifically subsection 1159.03E, discontinuance of use of the codified ordinance of the city of North Canton to lower the period during which a non-conforming use is continued while inactive from 2 years to 12 months.
Community and economic development, Jamie.
All right, well, this is one of the items we discussed in our public portion of the meeting, or the meeting before. So, I don't know if there's anything else to add. I guess I would, at this point, move that we adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 21-2020?
An ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of North Canton to reclassify 33 parcels in the city of North Canton in accordance with the amendment procedures set forth in chapter 1182 of the Planning and Zoning Code in order to phase out office building zoning throughout the city.
All right, this was also another item that we discussed in our public hearing, and I do have a note on this, and perhaps the administration might weigh in, but I have a note saying that we'd like to take a look at the properties that are on Schneider and take them all out of this consideration and address them a little bit later down the road, but will remain the other properties will remain in this. So is that pretty much what we're looking to do, Patrick?
Yes, I think that the couple of the parcels that are affected down there, they're in a kind of in a state of flux at the moment, and it might be best to just move forward with everything else, hold back on that, and revisit that that a little bit later after the status of those properties becomes a little more clear.
Okay, perfect. So any other comments or questions on this one? Okay, with that being said, then, let's see, I would move that we amend, correct me if I'm wrong, so we amend this item to remove all the Schneider properties. And, yeah, that's right, okay. So, yeah, I move that we adopt this while amending the Schneider items.
The vote on the amendment first.
Don't we vote on it with the amendment?
But you have to amend it first.
Okay, so then I
just-
move that we
Just your
amend.
motion to amend.
Perfect, okay, I move that we amend this item as discussed, removing the properties on Schneider from this item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 21-2023 as amended?
So moved.
All in favor? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 33-2020?
An ordinance establishing chapter 709 of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton, thereby creating a facade incentive program which provides economic relief to Main Street businesses who update their building's facade in accordance with recommended cohesive design standards.
Jamie again?
All right. This one was an exciting one that I think we, at least for me, that we discussed at our last committee meeting. And this would be a way of giving some sort of financial incentive to those business owners that would so wish to improve their facade and along Main Street. And this would be in the way of removing fees, building fees for or inspection fees for their projects. So, Patrick, anything else to add? I mean, I think we covered it last week. But...
We would just comment that the important part of this is the cohesive design standard.
Okay, good point.
That we're really trying to
Keep a
develop that
cohesive
look.
design. Yep.
That would also include any new businesses, not just the old businesses, the new business. Think about.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
If they're going into an
Existing business, buildings, yeah.
Appreciate administration adjusting the tiers from 3 tiers down to 2. That makes it a lot easier
Yeah.
than that.
Thank you for reminding me of that. We worked on that after the last meeting. It made a lot of sense to me administratively to try to deal with that. So I appreciate your intellectual prowess on that.
It's a numbers game. I
Yep.
enjoy the numbers side of it. So anything under 2,000s up to 100%, and anything 2,000 above is at to 75% of the permit fees reimbursed. So that was a good move.
All right, seeing no other comments. Where am I on my agenda? Yeah, here. Yeah, I move that we adopt.
We'll need if we want to adopt the amendment that
Good.
Member Matheny
Okay,
just
so
discussed,
then-
we need to do that.
I move, boy, I'm getting tangled up with the procedures tonight, so I would move that we add his amendment into this item.
That is actually in tonight's legislation.
I thought it was too, but
It's already in there.
The exact wording is shown as a red line in your packets again. If you just wanted to make a motion to amend in accordance with the red line.
then I would make a motion to amend in accordance with the red line in our packets.
Second.
For ordinance 33-2023.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 33-2023 as amended?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read the title of resolution 34-2020?
A resolution declaring one 2007 Braun ambulance no longer needed for municipal purposes and authorizing the same to be sold via a public auction through municipid.com and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, so we do this pretty much every year. All of our police cruisers and ambulances and fire trucks all have a certain lifespan that they live through. So you can see that this one was from 2007 and it's no longer needed in our municipality. So we will sell it at a public auction. Questions or concerns? It's very straightforward. All right, if not, I move to adopt. Emergency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. And can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring three readings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 34-2023 under suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 35-20?
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton to be appropriated for current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
Okay, so throughout the year, we have to make different appropriations to our previous amendments. And in this one, there were $2,742,000 that needed to be amended. Gina, do you want to talk about any of those? I mean, we had them from the general fund, the donations fund, the compensated. But was there a specific area you wanted to focus on, or just?
This is for the first quarter. We had one early January, but we've kind of waited until the end of the quarter. So one of the big ones, we're reallocating our ARPA funds from storm or sanitary sewer or water projects to street projects, and you'll see that with the Charlotte Street Improvement.
And you'll see that.
With the Charlotte Street Improvement Project. So we just need to change the department on that to account for it correctly. And then we also are selling the 15-year non-tax revenue bonds. And so a portion of that you'll see on here tonight, it's about 3.3 million. I'll bring to you next week, actually, the last portion of that, which is the last million. That's the majority of them.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring three readings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 35-2023 under suspension of the rules?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 36-2023?
An ordinance repealing and replacing chapter 351, parking generally of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton.
Okay, well, Patrick really went into depth on this at our last meeting. Some of the areas where we can park, where we can't park, what times we can park. Also, with parking on grassy areas of your property, it needs to all be, we need to work in with this and the other ordinance that we have, like 941, I think it is, they work together on this. It also gives the police officer, right now, I think our tickets are $5. They'll continue parking there for $5. They're gonna ticket those, same as parking on the street between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning. This is getting everything in. It's gonna give a lot more power to the police officers. We had rules, we really just didn't enforce them, and this gives a little bit more bite into the program, and there's a lot of rules and regulations here, which we're all aware of. Shame on us for not being able to enforce them. I think getting a lot of these RVs and trailers and stuff, or selling your car on your property, it needs to be consistent. So I would make a motion.
Has anyone heard any feedback regarding any of this?
No.
I would like to remind people, though, that we did pass the ordinance on the permeable pavers.
Yeah.
And that is a relatively inexpensive way to have some surface area to park on if needed.
Well,
Right?
I would add as well that many of these properties have a authorized surface they could park on, but choose not to.
That's
Mhm.
right.
They choose to put it in their grass.
Yep.
Instead.
What do you mean though? They have additional,
They have a driveway they can put their trailer in, or they have whether it's made out of gravel or whether it's made out of cement or asphalt.
well, but don't, a lot of them have, I mean, we have a lot of single driveways. So I'm assuming those people are the ones that you're referring to, so really they don't. If
I'm
they're trying to
referring-
back up the cars
No,
every
I'm
day.
referring to, just as many homes with two-car garages with double driveways as there are with single-car garages and single driveways. They're equal offenders.
That's interesting.
And, you know, if we wanted to maybe do a socioeconomic study,
Yeah.
we could find that those that live in the houses with no garage or a single detached garage are on a lower socioeconomic ladder than the others, and therefore can't afford to have an extra utility trailer in their yard.
Yeah, that
So
was my concern.
that's why it's rampant everywhere.
You're true on that. As I'm driving around, I'm seeing more and more in my eyes.
Just a clarification again, the city does have overnight parking ordinance that goes from 2 to 6 a.m., 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And, just the question came up too, what happens if you have, you know, a special circumstance that you're gonna require overnight parking on our street? The police department works very well with accommodating people for legitimate reasons. You know, it could be, especially around the holidays, when you have visitors and parties and family coming in, sometimes those driveways can't accommodate everybody. So there is an allowance there that, you know, using common sense, that, you know, the police department has years worked with people to accommodate them. And, or if you're having your driveway repaved and you need a place to park your cars, as long as it's not in front of a fire hydrant, okay? Or blocking somebody else's driveway, you know. So this parking ordinance does, you know, take into consideration and, from the police department's point of view to, you know, justify giving you overnight parking for 2 or 3 nights, whatever it might be. And the teeth of a $5 parking ticket just didn't seem to send a message to people who constantly want to abuse, I guess, you know, or block our streets because, you know, whether it's for snow removal or just when our officers are going down at night and patrolling our streets, you know, they check those neighborhoods and see if that car belongs to, you know, that area and things like that. But anyways, the administration decided to increase the overnight parking fee to $25. But the ordinance also does cover, you know, how to, if a resident has, wants to disagree with the, or challenge the citation, correct me if I'm wrong, chief, but it is up to the shift supervisor to evaluate that situation and, you know, either approve it or what's the word?
Sets a fine.
Set aside.
Set aside, thank you.
So if someone is there, you guest visiting for a week or it's during Fame Week or something like that, you have more people in, they have to get a $50 permit for a week?
No,
No,
so they just
that's a
need
good
to,
question.
you know, reach out to the police department on this and explain the temporary need.
Okay.
You know, Hall of Fame,
That's, okay.
Easter, whatever it is, it's bringing people in for a few days a week. And then, you know, we'll know that plate, that make and model will be with the police department. All the shifts will know
Okay,
that one's okay. It's okay to park on the street between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
perfect.
If it was going to turn out to be longer, and I think Mr. Matheny or somebody gave the example of like during COVID, when the schools were closed, kids came home during COVID. Mine did, and that created additional situations where parking was contemplated. So in this instance, if someone was going to be home for 3 months and they needed to have a little bit more than a temporary parking solution, this now provides a mechanism where we can issue a 90-day permit. There's a $50 fee for that. You'll be given a special pass that you'll display in your windshield or on your front dash. And then it's seen by officers, they'll know that that was okay.
Well, with that being said, I have to make a motion that we move on with this. Second.
We'll go at, that will move.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ben, would you please read the title of ordinance 37?
An ordinance establishing chapter 1313 of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton, thereby creating regulations for the establishment and maintenance of grading and drainage on lots in the city of North Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, Pat explained it real good, but it really opened my eyes too. Residents are dumping a lot of dirt on their yard, changing the way the water is flowing. It could be going onto their neighbors or going where it shouldn't be going. So there's certain criteria that has to be met. The inspectors will come out and inspect it, but also with the new buildings, new allotments and stuff of that nature. I don't think there'll be much of a problem with that. With the homes being built, I think it's gonna be a lot more with homes already built, and they're throwing more dirt on there and changing the direction of the water and where it's flowing to. Because you won't know until after a heavy rain, it might be a day or 2 days later, that water's sitting in their neighbor's yard, or on their driveway, or wherever.
Yeah, no, that was a very good synopsis, John. Would add that, just in driving around today, looking at other matters, came across a property that had 10 dump truck loads of dirt dropped on their property. It's in process of grading. And Marty, are you still on the line? Are you able to speak? Yes, you recently had a meeting with the BIA. Is that correct?
I did. Yep. Last week, Joe Race hosted a meeting whereby I attended remotely, and I believe we had 5 or 6 of the home builders online there. And a couple things to note there. And I think first, the association was very much appreciative of us reaching out to them and sending this ordinance out for their review. And I believe Joe Race mentioned he is planning on attending the 3rd reading to express his support and again his appreciation for that. But the main outcome for the meeting was there were 3 main changes that we discussed. The first one is in that first paragraph, and effectively that's just really clarification, just telling us what what we already know. We can't conflict with the Ohio Building Code or the Residential Code of Ohio. But that was a good clarification to have that in the front and center. We have that right in the beginning of the ordinance, so there is no confusion that this ordinance does not conflict with buildings under construction, particularly new homes or new commercial buildings, as those codes have very specific requirements for the drainage, particularly on those. And the second,
Marty, before you do the second one, these recommendations, have you forwarded them to Mr. Young's office?
yes, those are incorporated into the agenda packet.
Excellent. Please continue.
Yep, that is being considered.
To make that clear for our TV viewing audience that's tuning in from home tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. So the second clarification was in regards to the work around the driveway approaches. Effectively, that gives the option of doing either sod or seeded for the grass is, what the home builders had identified is typically, they prefer the seeded approach, with the hydro seeded particularly is, it is a much better approach than the sod, but this will give, both as an option there. And the third, probably the most concerning portion of the discussion here was the survey part. So we did put that is a change actually that makes it specific that this does not apply to residential construction, single family particularly. The reason is this is a lot of information that is required. It does add additional cost, whereby the projects that we have identified here where it does apply, the non-residential project, the multifamily building or subdivision, this information is typically incorporated into those projects already. So that was some clarification there. And with those three main revisions there, the home builders, again, as I mentioned, was in support of the ordinance and did not object to it. And again, appreciated the opportunity.
Just for the record, what you heard was Mr. Martin Van Gundy. He is our chief building official. So I just wanted to make that for the audience to know that voice that you just heard. Thank you.
So we have to make a motion for the amendments, or the amendments are already?
You have to speak up, please.
Sorry. Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 37-2023 to include the amendments drafted based on the feedback from the BIA as shown in the red line version and council.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 37-2023 as an?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to department reports. Patrick, Director of Administration.
Thank you. Wanted to let you know that we're continuing to drive around the city. Start myself, the code enforcement coordinator who's here tonight. If you could raise your hand, that's Tom Bezzosi, and longtime resident of the city. So we go around and, everything that Tom looks at, I look at before it gets turned into to safe built. And so one of the things that's come up now, even before this, we were after individuals who were not taking care of their trees, the dead trees on their property, hazard trees, extensive piles of brush stored on their property, creating, depending on your point of view, unwanted habitats for animals that are affecting the neighborhoods, getting complaints on. But now with the storms, I guess that's where I'm going, with the storms that we've had, the contractors are just overwhelmed with work. And it's just taking longer. It's taking longer for them to even return phone calls. It's taking them longer to do the job. People are just overworked. So we're giving some additional time and latitude before we start to get back to that regular routine. So I just wanted you to know that it's not something that we've forgotten about, but given Mother Nature's wrath, we decided to just take a little time out on that. This next one, it's really for council's benefit to understand, at some point when I'm not here as the administrator, whenever that time might be, about how you really need to understand what happens when you don't have sufficient workforce and think that you can get away with it. And so there was a period of time after Uber company closed its doors that we cut the body count here, cut payroll. I know, I was on council, I led the effort. But as revenues grew in the years ensuing, we never added the people back in. And so we went for a decade with trying to run the city with, a labor force that was, well below 100. And there was just so much left on the side. So today I spent some time in Whitwer Park over there in John's ward. And I was very disheartened to see what has developed over the last 15 years there. That property that's ours, that's on the west side of the park, behind the basketball court, behind the tennis court, and then what would be on the north side in front of the tennis court, all the way out to Harmon Street. That used to be about 30 to 40 feet wider than it is. 15 to 20 years ago, we were cutting all the way, grass all the way up to the property line of the adjoining property, which made that parcel 30, 40 feet wider in different parts. But as time went on and people weren't around to maintain it, the leaves fell, the pine needles fell, they weren't cleaned up, killed the grass. There wasn't no sense of mowing it then. Then trees fall over. There must be 20, 30 trees that are down and another 15, 20 ready to go. Briars have now invaded the space, and it's 3 feet, 4 feet tall, full of briars all along there. That's unacceptable, and it should be. But that's where you all getting out, doing what John does, doing what Jamie does, Christina does. You all get, Dave, all of you get out. You're all walking around talking to people. I know. You call me, Stephanie, and I talk all the time with issues. So that's what we need. That's what you need. But you also need to get that feedback that these issues are being taken care of. And if they're not, fine. So as a result, we've scheduled a cleanup day that we're going to go in and we're going to brush hog that area. We're going to take down those hazard trees, remove all the stuff, and yours truly here is going to volunteer to be a worker bee that day and work under the direction of the superintendent and operations manager just to help. It's quite the task to do, and we're appreciative of City Council over the last few years adding additional people into the park department. When I started here, we had 2. That isn't going to get it done. So, we're up to, I think, 6 now, and we're starting to see, efforts. And that when we ask for some of this stuff to be done, it can't get done. That's a bit, I get one of those meetings where you have to confess your problems. Well, that I just did for all to see. But we're honest about it, and we're doing things about it. So that's really what you want from your government.
Mm-hmm.
That was my report.
Thank you for putting the new dirt onto the baseball field. It makes a big difference. And you're absolutely right about that property, because I coached flag football, and that's where we practiced at. And it was a lot wider back then.
Well, and since you brought that up, to that end, I have been in contact with the school concerning the use of our property for football practices. So we're first that the 7-man sled that occupies part of Whitwer Park, that has to be removed.
Yeah, that's
Good.
schools.
Yeah, so they're working on getting that done. They thought that they had it done. I called and reminded them that it wasn't, and it's grass mowing time. And to move that 7-man sled, where's my buddy here? He and I moved 7-man sleds back in the day, right?
Back in the day.
Yeah, we used to do that. But do you go out and move it now, just being a lay person? We have to get a pickup truck, hook chains around that and pull it out of the way to mow the grass under. That is just a complete inefficient operation there. So we're gonna fix that part. And then as far as the practice games and whatnot, this goes directly to John's comment about the infield there. So typically when games are played there or practices or whatever it is that would cause them to want to line the field, In the past, they were lining that field and it went through the infield. That is no longer can be the case. You know, I don't know, it was about 5, 7 years ago, last 7 years ago, when the superintendent of parks was no longer with the city, went to try to fix that drainage issue on that ball field, spent, you know, $80,000 and ended up making it worse. Didn't have a well thought out plan. So we've gone in and we've fixed it. We thank council for the monies to do that. And it's about $30,000 to remedy it. But it drains, it looks nice. But what we don't want is, you know, a herd of cleats running through it and digging up that investment again and having to fix it. And then, you know, interestingly, I didn't know this, but when the cleats dig it all up, that underneath that area, it's very clay-like soil, about 12 inches down. And if you if you're Bambi and you paw at that sand because there's cleats that have dug it out, starts to form, water starts to bubble up from down below. So the deer have learned to dig the infield to make a bigger hole so that the water comes up and they get fresh drinking water. So you see how it just all snowballs? So we've addressed that with the school. We also have some entities that are looking to rent more of the field, so we're getting more into our rec program now. This is, you know, probably our first foray back into it since we used to manage the pool. So we're going to rent fields. We have an online capacity for people to go in and make those reservations for us to get involved in some of the recreational programming. I know I really went on a long time. I'm sorry.
That's good.
It looks great.
Mayor? Well, thank you very much, President Stroya. I hope I don't go as long as Mr. DiOrio, but it was in-depth and needed to be said, so thank you. I just want to cover a few things here. You know, in regards to the weather that has occurred here over the last few weekends, from the wind and storms, I just wanted to share and go on record that we are thankful for that no reported injuries or deaths occurred in our city during those storms over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I want to thank again AEP Ohio service crews for responding to restore the power to our residents and businesses in a timely manner. They were very, very much overwhelmed, but you know what? They took care of North Canton, and I appreciate that. And your street department and crews and our fire and EMS and police department personnel, they responded to calls for service one right after another. And it all started about 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning, a weekend or so ago. And it was all hands on deck for our team of people to combat the wrath of the weather, with trees falling and uprooted, and our phone lines down and power lines down and cable lines down and internet lines down. So thank you very much to them. And also, I noticed when I was driving around over the last few weeks, really, I want to thank our community, neighbors helping neighbors in cleaning up the debris in their yards and sidewalks and gutters and streets. I did see that happening. And I can't thank our street department enough as they opened up our main streets very quickly when that was like on East Hill and Marquardt, when the trees came down and blocked those intersections and streets. I really want to recognize too some unsung heroes, I think, or heroines. Dispatchers Randy Frias and dispatcher Stacy Petrie were on duty during the last onslaught of the weather. And I want to thank them for their outstanding performance in responding to continuous and exhausting bombardment of 911 calls for service. Chief was in there with me, along with the fire chief, and we were watching them, and about 60 calls in less than an hour, 911 calls coming in, and they're taking this information, dispatching our people to where their need is. But you know, our city is our communication center is a public safety answering point. And believe it or not, we were getting calls from Pike Township, Plain Township, Jackson Township, Navarre, Alliance, Canton, New Philadelphia, Massillon, and even calls calling from Northern 911. If you research that, that's Canada. And what happens was the 911 lines were so overwhelmed in other communities they were rolling over into our people, and our personnel were taking those calls. And so, once again, our first responders did a great job. We had a very good incident command system set up, with Chief Kemp and Chief Bacon. And so I just wanted to recognize that. I know it's a little late, and hopefully this will be a good week of weather, but that takes a lot of time, and that's a lot of patience, and it really plays on your nerves. I also want to say again, Dan Sutter, thank you for coming and presenting on the Stark MRDD issue 21. I, as Mayor Steve Wilder, along with other mayors throughout Stark County, have gone on record to endorse the support of the passing of issue 21. If you go to their website, you will see all the companies, organizations, and villages and township governments that are supporting this vital levy for us. So thank you very much. I too, I'd like to share with our audience and council. I have two resolutions to present for the record. And this first one is a resolution to recognize Autism Awareness Month. And I'll just read the first few sentences here. Whereas the city of North Canton joins our nation and the United Nations General Assembly, who adopted Resolution 62/132 on December the 18th, 2007, to designate April the 2nd as World Autism Awareness Day, to be observed every year. And whereas autism is a complex development disability and promotes acceptance, that affects how a person communicates with and relates to other people, and can affect how they make sense of the world around them. Again, that day was actually the 2nd, but the whole week we're recognizing it as the Autism Awareness Month. And I'm encouraging all citizens to participate and learn more about autism and the lived experience of those with autism and autism spectrum disorder. From people with autism, and work to build a more welcoming and inclusive community for the people with autism, given under my hand with the seal of North Canton here on the 10th day of April, 2023. The second resolution I'd like to present to council and our audience was also a day that was in the past, but it's also another recognition for the month. And that is Stark County declares April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And whereas the city of North Canton joined Stark County Commissioners Richard Regula, Bill Smith, and Janet Ware Creighton, having declared April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And the commissioners presented a proclamation on Wednesday, April the 5th, 2023, to the Stark County Job and Family Services Executive Director Gary Coleman and Interim Director of Children's Services Tricia Maley. And but we are also joining that cause and bringing that to attention of our community. And whereas the Stark County Job and Family Services has partnered with Project Care, that's K-A-R-E, to promote Wear Blue Day on Wednesday, April the 12th, 2023. Wear Blue Day encourages residents to wear blue to work, school, and a community event for child abuse prevention. Those who wear blue are invited to share their photos with Job and Family Services by emailing them. If you go to their website, you'll be able to find out what that is, but it is actually Rachel.Kohler, K-O-L-L-E-R, @ifs.ohio.gov. And you can post those things on the social media, or just do hashtag Stark Wears Blue. But I'll be wearing blue on the 12th, not only in recognition of the Autism Awareness, they've selected also the 12th to wear blue. And in our city, wearing blue. And if you really want to go to the website, you can see right here, there's a nice thing that you can wear. So for those in the audience, April the 12th, Wednesday, is going to be a special day. And I also want to say, over this last weekend, up at the athletic fields across from Blogwood Park, if you're out that way on Saturday, there was a lot of activity going on. And by 9:30 in the morning, there is no place to park. You actually had to park way over by the high school. Well, I want to congratulate the North Canton J.C.'s for an exceptional Easter egg hunt. We estimated over 1,000 participants, families participating in 2 waves. And softball was going on, a multi-school track event, lacrosse, and baseball was going on. And so it was quite an activity day there on Saturday. But again, they have about 1,000 people plus for our Easter Day event planned by the North Canton J.C.'s. They did an outstanding job, and I congratulate them on that. And in closing, I want to thank you, Boy Scouts, for being here. I imagine you're here for citizenship in the community. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank the rest of the people, in our audience for sitting in on our 2 meetings tonight, our public hearing and then City Council. So as a Boy Scout myself, and as an Eagle Scout, it's nice to see you all here being a part of our program. And I hope you find it beneficial. And I wish you the best as you go on in your scouting career. And I hope you get the merit badge after this one. So thank you, President Soroya.
Thank you.
You were longer.
Was I longer? He timed me. Okay. 7 minutes.
It's Gina.
I'm not competing, but I'm gonna give you some information, okay? It is the quarterly finance report. So you'll see attached to the report, besides the regular monthly 5 pages, we've added, the statement of cash. It shows each fund, which you also have every month. But then along with that, the revenue report, so it'll show you where we are, every line item of revenue. The expense report as well was also in your packet. And then the last quite a few pages is the quarterly check report. So you'll have a list of all the checks as well. So I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of the stats of where we are on the first quarter. Our income tax, we are collected at about 25% of our budget, which just tells us our budget's on target at this point. We're seeing a few different things. Our withholding average usually is around 65% of our tax income, but our income tax this year is around 73%. So that may just have something to do with the number of individuals that are filing. So we'll kind of keep our eye on that. And if we need to make those adjustments through the year, we will. I'll just do my plug right away for Rita. Whether or not you owe, please file your taxes by next Tuesday. They had some interesting statistics. This was the first year they've really encouraged the e-file for individuals. So I don't know if you've been online and used is it My Rita page? They've had 292,000 individual returns filed already. And filing doesn't always mean they process those, but because they've had so many efficiencies in their processing, they're actually, their call center's down 12% for calls, which is still 20,200, not just North Canton, clearly. Rita is the income tax agency for quite a few municipalities. But they have processed over 75% of refunds already, and so that's just outstanding when we haven't even hit the filing deadline. So whether or not you owe, just please remember to still file as a resident. You still have to file. So that we're following the due date of April 18th, same as the IRS. So that's next Tuesday. Then back onto our revenues year-to-date current, all revenues, not just income tax, we're at 17%, and expense also at 17%. So again, with the budget true-up appropriations that we did tonight, those are actually going to be in effect in April. So this is just taking you through the end of March as far as those statistics. Our bank reconciliation, our portfolio, our investment portfolio, we do have 85% of our money is invested. The dates range, I think our portfolio duration right now, which governments are allowed to be invested up to 5 years. For the most part, they're CDs 1 year, 2 years. We really try to keep their duration less than 5, but we do match some obligations as well. We have debt payments. We know when they're due twice a year. We have, like this March, this past month was a 3-pay month. We have 2 of those every year. So we try to invest our money to mature at the times when we know we need cash flow. So our duration is 1.45 years, and that's because interest rates have been so, minus the term crappy, but they are starting to improve. And our CDs right now, we have some that The best we could get was a 0.2%, and now recently we've just invested at 3.25. I know, whopping. And our federal securities, which are the most stable that we can invest in, was at 0.17. That's our lowest one, but it was the best we could get at one time. Recently, we've been investing at 5.26%. So we do have a wide range. Our portfolio is as diverse as it can be. The average current yield is 1.69%. So as those things start to mature, we'll invest in longer term if the rates say that that's probably the best thing we can do. And then I wanted to give you some payroll and accounts payable statistics just quickly. Our employees, I know our director of administration talked about this. Our employees are up 9% over this time last year. So this is just looking at first quarter this year versus first quarter last year. We have 136 employees on the payroll roster. Last year at this time was 125. And that includes some part-time people in and out. Remember, we have quite a few departments with part-time, such as fire, EMS, parks, those sorts. Our first quarter payroll, we did have, I mentioned 7 payrolls, where this time through last year, we only had 6. So you'll see some cash flow difference on that as well. It's around $395,000 difference due to the payroll. Overtime right now is also up 23%, but it's a small number. So 23% of a small number is not a lot. Nothing to cause concern at this point. And our accounts payable checks. For the first quarter of 2023, we've written 315 transactions. They're not all checks because we do quite a bit now with electronic payments, but 315 transactions for a total of $4.65 million. In the first quarter last year, we had 331 checks, so more checks, but less money, $2.13 million. And the difference of $2.5 million is really our economic development projects that we are slowly wrapping up and starting to come to a close on over the next couple of weeks. Did you have any questions on the finance report?
That's great.
Was that longer or shorter? I don't know. It just is? Oh. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, at this point I do not.
Okay.
Good answer.
Thank you. Council Clerk, Ben.
I have 2 things. First, I just wanted to thank council for approving the survey, and it's a great program we've had going for more than a decade and a half now. And I just wanted to remind you all that it's 1 survey per adult, not 1 survey per household. As you're doing your walk around the neighborhood, as Patrick talked about, every person you talk to, remind them to go take a survey. And then to piggyback off of what Patrick was talking about, of having the right people in the right places, part of the appropriations you all acted on tonight includes improved software for permitting and licensing, which was part of our master plan. Patrick's very excited about this. Fortunately, before Safe Built, we had a different software vendor. And after we brought on Safe Built, that software vendor did not want to give us our permitting data. We have been fortunate to recover that permitting data. And I have now the wonderful task of going through it and cleaning it and making it accurate. But once that's all in place, we will have the city's pretty much entire history of permitting going back to the 1970s all in one place.
That's great.
And it will all be, and applying for new permits will be possible online, whereas right now you have to come into the permit.
Thank you. Council reports, Jamie, welcome.
All right, yeah, kind of want to echo what the mayor was saying about over there on 7th Street on Saturday. So first, I was there split between 2 events. My daughter plays softball for the North Canton Fast Pitch Association, and they were doing a field cleanup, so it was neat to be a part of that. And I think seeing so many people there for the Easter egg hunt, because I can remember I'm a HJC, a life member, and seeing that many people, I was just absolutely blown away. But it was kind of fun as I'm shoveling sand, and I think it was my wife said, "Hey, the mayor's here to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it's nice being able to run into Mayor Wilder and both being excited about what was happening over there. So Mr. Senator, I want to thank you for coming in this evening, and thank you for sharing what Start DD does. Thank you for the work that you do with them, and I wish you much success on May 2nd. Mentioned I'm a HJC, and one of the fondest memories I have is being a part of the Special Olympics track meet invitational that we had. I understand it's not going to happen this year, but hopefully it comes back. And I tell you what, you guys all should volunteer for that because that is one special event. So, so just thank you for the work that you do in the community. So, thank you for making me giving me a couple corrections as my my Robert's Rules of Order mishap this evening. So, oh, I'm sorry. I was thanking Ben for correcting me with my Robert's Rules of Order mishaps this evening. So I appreciate the impromptu lesson. So
That's what I'm here
all right, perfect. I think that's all I have to share this evening.
Excuse me, Jamie,
Yes.
you're not gonna share with the audience that I crossed you back when you were a child going to the Easter egg hunt when I was a police officer?
Well, so I don't remember that far back, but what I will tell you, so first off, Officer Wilder was my dare officer. Excuse me, I keep calling him Officer Wilder. It's ingrained in my memory. He was my dare officer in 6th grade. But a really fond memory I have of him was when I was in the JCs and we used to have the Easter egg hunt over at Dogwood Park, and I can remember you were just. I think it was my first event or first Easter egg hunt, and it just seemed like there's a sea of people. And it's like, oh my gosh, where are they all coming from? But then I can remember looking over and seeing the chief of police himself directing traffic on 7th Street. But yeah, we reminisced about that on Saturday. So,
David, with you?
As chairperson of personnel and safety, there's been several updates with personnel. I don't have anything to add to that. On the safety side, as Mayor Wilder had mentioned, with all the trees down, it's created a lot of challenges for the community, but it's been great seeing neighbors, helping neighbors, and being part of this community. I also think about the warm weather that's coming about and the number of people that are out, the joggers and the walkers, and I've mentioned this before. It's time to be alert. It's time to be safe. It's time to watch those flashing lights in the crosswalks. It's time to make sure to hit the buttons before hitting the crosswalks. But at the same time, it's a community and we all need to be looking out for each other. I've seen that in the past weeks. I just want to remind people to be safe going forward. To the gentleman here, our scouts, I'm challenging you. I want you to ask questions. I want you to be part of your community. I want you to be part of your neighborhood. You can make an impact. So they say there's so much going on in the world right now that you should think globally, but act locally. And you have that direct control and you can be involved in your community and you can make this a better place for all of us. Thank you for what you do.
absolutely.
Thank you, David. Stephanie, we're through.
Okay, David, that was said very well and nice. I echo that to the Boy Scouts as well. It's really exciting to see what's going on up at Old Kmart. Oh my gosh, wow, huge economic development. And Boy Scouts, when you think locally, you just go straight up North Main and you're gonna see a lot that's gonna be going on. So that's a great spot. And thank you to you coming and visiting with big proponents of it with Leadership Star County and the Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce and have echoed all that you said. So thank you for coming.
All right. John, Ward 4.
Not too much tonight. Again, I've been seeing a lot of people helping others. There was a huge tree down on Cordelia in Woodland. And it was, and I think there was another one on Rose Lane. But people out there helping people. Christina, Patrick, and all those who were involved. I think the dog's working across the street.
Oh, yes.
I was walking on the walking track and I go, something's missing. And I'm like, you know what's missing? And I said, geese and the duck and whatever they leave behind, but they're, it looks great. I call that the second crown jewel of my award. And that park is so fabulous. Very, very fortunate to have. I gave Patrick a couple streets to look at. I think we can get those done, and as I'm taking notes, I'm ranking them, and those were the two worst. So get out there in your ward, talk to the people, because they really, we're a good council. We don't have the fighting or all of that that's gone in the past. I think we're a good council. We follow up with what, it's not what we want, it's what our voters want. If we remember that all the time, we'll continue to be great. Boy Scouts, thank you. If I had to do it all over again, I would want to be a Boy Scout. I never was active in the Boy Scouts. I have a cousin who's becoming an Eagle Scout this year. The work that goes through it. You got a lot of things to go ahead with, but that's a great group to see. Thank you, Mr. Sutter, for showing up. All for that. All the other guests that came tonight. Thank you.
Christina.
Okay, well, the mayor passed part of his report on to me. Same time. Yeah. So I was planning to mention anyway, though, the library's Earth Day Recycle Fair is Saturday, April 22nd, 11 to 2. There's Goodwill, we'll have a truck there accepting everything that Goodwill accepts, which is almost everything. There will be an e-cycle truck there accepting electronics for recycling, and then we'll have paper shredding at City Hall in the parking lot there. That is funded by the North Canton Police Department. Thank you for that. So you can bring up to 3 boxes of paper to be shredded, and no one says how large the boxes are. So bring the boxes. And there's also will be a plant sale. Know Your Roots, who runs our farmers market here, always kicks off their selling season at the Earth Day event. So they'll be there as well. So that is Saturday, April 22nd. We put up signs all over the city today, so you will see those as you go around. What else? Catherine and I are going to start touring parks. I think I mentioned this before, but that's starting this week. We're going to go and tour and look around and just sort of drill down on some of these projects. Patrick, thank you for getting that big football thing out of Whitworth Park. I can tell you, as like the person who plans the movie nights, this is hilarious and sad in the park for the library. Multiple times I would have to go to the police department and say, this thing is where everyone's coming to sit, and we can't, we were like us, we couldn't move it, and the police would come out. I feel really bad for that. That should not be their job. So, so I'm glad
I didn't know
to
that.
see that. Yeah, so I'm glad that that's being taken care of. We eventually learned and would go during the day and would call the schools, but the first few times it always surprised us.
Why is it still there then?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Moving on April 29th, just another reminder, April 29th and 30th at Arrowhead, there will be an open house from 12 to 2. So everyone is welcome. There'll be free appetizers, drink specials. You can get a discount on pool memberships for new members. And you can tour and see all of the new things that are happening there, which is really exciting. Lots of improvements. So if you haven't taken up pickleball yet, go check it out and you can do that. Thank you, Mr. Sutter. Thank you for honestly just serving. We don't all know, but a lot of us know what those board roles are like, and it's gratifying, but boy, it's a lot of work, especially when you're running a levy campaign. So I hope all goes well. We definitely support that. I think that is, I will not be here. I will tell you this now. I will not be here next Monday for the next committee. I have surgery that day, so yeah. But other than that, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, that's the next book. All right, my turn. You guys stole all the events from me. The only thing I can think of is Dogwood passes started going on sale on Monday. Those are available. Dan Sutter Suter.
I was Sutter.
Thank you for making your presentation and support Stark DD, and I think everybody else that's here too. Thank you all for coming. Boy Scouts, right? Okay, nice. So I have about a 20-minute presentation left. Just kidding. Say bye and support.
Good.
moving on, final call for new business.
Daryl did email me.
Oh,
Stop. Nope.
yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Final call for new business. Seeing none, let's discuss the meetings calendar. So, we do have April 17th committee of the whole, but then we're also going to do a meeting on the 19th.
Yeah, it's on the screen. Chairman Revolt called it after I published the agenda, so it didn't make the agenda.
So, is there, let's maybe talk about combining those two. It's kind of silly to two. Would you guys be okay moving?
Patrick, didn't you and I talk about that?
And I have to have the one on the 19th.
Yeah.
Right, so.
We said, why don't we just have it? Guys.
And I think I shared, I can't make the 19th, my daughter has surgery that day. Okay.
So we've got two.
I mean, there's a
I
chance. I
might
might
be
make it,
able to
but
be,
Yeah.
you can't tell, I don't know yet,
It depends.
I hope so, I really will be there.
Mhm.
Does the council clerk know what will be on the agenda? There's nothing requiring an emergency, is there?
There's
17th.
the only potential emergency item is, I believe Gina submitted another appropriation.
Yes, indeed, but we can do it on the 19th, it was fine. We can do it on
There
the
needs to be
19th.
6 people that can do it on an emergency.
Appropriations are not by emergency, this is for the new bonds, we'll have that
There you go.
as well.
Okay. Problem solved, just need a majority.
The new bonds will need to be by emergency,
Never mind.
the appropriations do not.
Well, but they don't need 6 votes in committee. They need 6
It's
votes.
just a committee.
Okay,
It's just a committee.
Oh, that's,
Right.
thank you, Stephanie.
Let's, I mean, do we want to combine that and
Yes.
have it all on the 19th? It's kind of silly to
Yes.
meet twice, and have the money to do that.
Let's do that.
Can we do 5:30?
I have an event that night. That it's the Conquest event.
2 of us, 6 o'clock.
You what?
Comcast, it's at 6 for you and me.
It's 5.
5?
It's 5 to 7.
Okay.
Well,
So, because I don't think it'll take probably half an hour.
well, I think if we do, if member Revolt does his committee first, then that would allow people at 5:30 to come in the committee of the whole.
What about this?
That's the
Our
10th.
meetings are normally at 7 o'clock. What if we pushed it back to 7 o'clock and it'd be after your event? The likelihood of, I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be there, depends when we get released from the hospital, but
We're confusing this.
it's,
We could do it at your hospital room.
why don't we do that? Okay.
Mayor, did you look at it?
I had, we have council on the whole scheduled for the 17th. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're-
Yes, and we were scheduling a 5 o'clock meeting on, the 19th. I had Conquest starting at 6.
Oh,
The fundraiser.
well, if it starts at 6, then the 5:30 works.
on the 19th.
So we're not going to have 2 meetings on the
Right.
17th, we would just have our regular council of the whole on the 17th, and then.
No, on the 19th.
Yeah, we're talking about combining.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that point. So no meeting on the 17th and move it to the 19th is what you're considering.
Yes. David, could you make 7 on the 19th?
Anytime after 5:30.
Okay. So, I mean, does it make more sense to move it later?
Wait, let me, I just need to find it. Taste of Hope. Well, it does say 6. It does say 6. Mayor, you a VIP guest?
Um,
I am not.
No, I'm not a VIP guest.
Then it does say 6. So if we did, David, can you do 5:15?
I,
Can we start it?
we have all managers, all departments, all sites meeting, getting out by 5 is gonna be my challenge.
Maybe it needs to stay as is. I don't know.
We have enough without David.
Well, I think that on the 19th, if the first meeting is the Economic Development Committee meeting, which is a general, it's going to be a discussion. There's not an action item. That would allow you then to come
Committee meeting.
for the committee meeting where you're going to actually have action items.
That's
Is that
definitely.
okay, David?
No, I'm saying we start at 5, let Dave join in
Right.
progress. If,
And then if I have to leave.
and then if you have to leave,
Okay.
you have to
Yeah.
leave.
Okay. Kind of one of those like timely auctions.
19th is
Sorry.
cast in stone. The 19th is cast in stone.
Yeah.
Could the 20th be done?
What, Jamie?
Could the 20th be done?
Yeah, the 19th. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's pretty set.
Yeah. Don't have enough people.
Yeah, it's not, again, there's not an action item, so there's no
It's just a
voting on
committee.
a committee or anything like that, they just need 4 to conduct a meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
The chairman of the committee called it, so it's not like all 7 of you have to be here for a committee meeting or that subcommittee.
All right, so let's do the 19th at start at 5. We'll combine both meetings at 5. First one will be the committee, the special meeting, the committee meeting, and then the committee of the whole will be following that.
The following night?
You know, following as soon as that meeting was adjourned.
Well, I think, well, I'll work with you and Chairman Revolt to just have a committee of the whole at 5 p.m.
Okay.
We don't need to do a double.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It would be, okay. Yeah, it would just be part of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one meeting.
There you go.
Okay, all right.
Just that will be the first part.
All right, and any voting we'll do at the end to give more opportunity for everybody. So no Monday meeting, would be Wednesday the 19th, committee of the whole will discuss it. And then a regular city council meeting on April 12th. Okay, so make that work. Entertain motion to adjourn.
No moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed?
not usually like that.